Okay, you can go when you're ready.
Okay. So, what can I do to get better parent involvement with the student schoolwork? One who keeps feet firmly on the ground will have trouble putting on pants. I like that. Okay. Home and family. Talking points. A parent school garden. So they can come. So phoning the families to share news periodically throughout the year with positive feedback. Oh, I like that. Talking points. I don't know this. Connecting teachers with parents through translating text messages services. Okay. A parent school garden. This sounds like fun. In upstate New York, they were able to use it. Community gardens, so that way, good way for like the parents to be there, be involved, see them, talk to them. Homemade projects.
That is placeholder text because we don't have a real content for that.
Yeah.
And that's the stopping point.
That's the end.
Okay. So.
Tell us what made sense, what's confusing.
Here you can go back to that, but don't go to the next one. Even though you probably saw that.
Okay. But I can scroll back.
Mm-hmm.
And see the other.
You can, yeah. You can, yeah. It'll just go through the next step.
So, I liked that it showed them, but then it went one at a time through them, rather than like if I could just click on the one. Like it brought a few different ideas. I think the picture and the name told me quite a bit to look at. So I could just skip to the one that looked most interesting based on the name and picture. But instead it had me scroll through, and so I read about each one. Mm-hmm. So depending on how many there are, I think it said there were 6 results found. So if there were like 20 results, I wouldn't want to scroll through every single one. But if it had like 3 or 4 that were top hits, or if I could click like, or be able to do something to show that I'm using this strategy, then it would be top of the list for those answers. I like that, but it was super easy to just look at it, be able to get the response back to me, and be able to see things that I could use.
So would you think you'd use an app like this?
I think so. I think just...
If you knew the content was generated by other teachers.
Yeah, absolutely. Like at the end of the day, if I've had something happen while like organizing the worksheets for the day or putting music away, I could just talk into it and it would tell me, it would like come up with images. Like it would be something I could multitask kind of through, or just be able to just get my thoughts out and then say, oh yeah, I had that thought the other day and that's what came up. Mm-hmm. Or if it's saved, like at the end of every day, if I had 3 or 4 minutes to just brainstorm and go, okay, well this was a struggle today, and got through it, and then when I went to my prep period, I could pull those back up and say, okay, now that I have time during my prep, I can go back and remember the things that I talked about or said.
Can I ask you, so when you say like the things that you talked about or said, are you
talking to the app
to ask questions, like?
Yeah.
Or, because it sounds like, okay, yeah, because there's like a processing period, right? Like, and then like you come to the question, maybe, or?
Yeah, I think that too, that I could say, oh, I really struggled getting the kids involved in this activity today. If I could just talk it out, or have a place to write it down, and then come up with a question from that, that would help to know what I've thought about. So if it was an open app that I could just like talk my notes into, like just say whatever, this was troublesome today, or the kids really latched onto that idea, what are other things that use that same idea. But if I had like my own little notebook or something, you know, just like a notes app that would remember those. But if it was part of it, that'd be really cool, because then I could say, oh, last week, you know, I had that same problem. What else what are other patterns that are happening in my classroom that I can pull up these ideas?
Yeah.
Good feedback.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So I would use it because I could go at the end of every day and just be like, oh man, Josh again, he just is really off task. And if I had that, and then if just speaking it out loud to someone, to something, I would say, oh wait, Josh is off task. Why is he off task? And then I'd have to reprocess that. But if I were talking it out, just like reading a paper back after you've written it, you find your mistakes, or if you hear someone else read it out loud, or a speech or something that you've prepared, it's really nice to have that. So to see like my words written out and figure it out, it would help.
So you are pro, like, speaking, verbally saying something, and then having it automatically written for you.
Yes, very pro that.
Okay.
It would help a ton to just be able to say, like, but I talk my text a lot too, so I'm already using that technology. I don't do it with like school papers or formal papers, but like texts, and sometimes quick responses to emails. I talk it if I'm doing it on my phone. On my computer, I never do that.
Gotcha.
So, what kind of questions do you think you would want to ask? Or what kind of...
Lots of just getting ideas. A lot of educators call it our bag of tricks, just like different engaging activities that can be done for kids. And so if my topic or the subject I'm teaching, if my goal for that week or for that unit was to accomplish a certain task, I could say, okay, what are strategies for that? Okay, and then finding other strategies that link well to them. So any activities that can be more engaging for the kids. I'm not really interested in what work can be done, because most curriculums have like the workbook already built. And that's the stuff that I don't like about education, is that there's that standard text that the kids have to do the right and wrong answers. But what activities and different ideas can be brought into the education to help them reinforce that, because we learn by doing, I think.
Yeah.
Nice. Would it be helpful to run through that again and reflect on your thoughts, or what do you think? Or do you want to move on to the other part?
I think we can
move on.
Move on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the other part is we're kind of throwing around. You're good. This is pretty informal. How do you motivate a teacher to input strategies? Because that takes time. And what are we're trying to decide what would a teacher get out of that. We were thinking some ideas are like you get to see how many people you've helped. Like your comment has helped this many people. Like that feels nice. Or do you need some other do you get paid to add comments?
I think
those kind of questions.
There are sort of so we haven't prototyped this, but it was a community aspect, a feeling of gratification of contributing to a community. And then if we could swing this, monetary benefits, if, depending on how much you contribute and, just like your contributions, if there was a system that would be like state-sponsored pizza party or whatever, I guess that could be something else. Pittsburgh textbooks.
Yeah, I think an incentive, the community is really great, but if there's a way to reward the classroom, because I think a lot of educators don't worry so much about, it's nice to get a little bit of extra money, but what I do with my extra money is often find ways to give it back to my kids,
Yeah.
in the classroom. So supplies or help funding the activity, if
Yeah.
there's something like the community garden is awesome for someone to come up with that idea. If there's a way to link it to some support for that, so
Yeah,
it's not always
exactly.
coming out of the parents, but
Mm.
something for the classroom
Yeah.
or for the kids, so
Yeah.
it feels like, okay, yeah, I'm spending this time giving my input and my advice, or listing activities, spending that, but the more I do that, the more it helps me
Mhm.
by helping fund my activities or my new ideas or
Right.
stuff. I don't know how that would work, either I guess an ad in the app or it's a paid app or something.
Yeah, I feel like that's all, I don't know, the back end stuff that
Mhm.
we're assuming you'd have to know going in. Like the app's not going to educate you through that. It's just the
Right.
tool through which you can do it. I think that's
Yeah.
for app. But yeah.
But if I did get the feedback from a teacher that said, hey, I used this idea, or 10 teachers have clicked on this and have submitted that they used it, if there's a way to then talk about it with them, because there are so many times
Right.
after you've done something that you've put a lot of work into, you want to tweak it later because it didn't work with this age group or this student or this type of learner doesn't do well with this, to tweak it and get the feedback from other teachers for them to say, yeah, it worked in my second grade class really well, this, and then to find out from a third grade teacher, it was a little juvenile for them, they didn't